So this week was Lucas's turn to host me. Um, and he ended up telling me that he played for the Michigan State baseball team. So he invited me to their home series this past weekend. So I went to a game on Friday, and then about 2 or 3 hours after the game, we went back to the field, and he taught me how to swing a baseball bat and hit a ball. So it was very fun, and I'm very happy that he invited me to do this with him because we were able to connect on a more deeper level than what we have in our previous interactions because we both share a love and a passion for sports. So from there, we then went to the library to talk about our learning experiences. So the first thing we started talking about when we got to the library was challenging courses that we had to face in high school. And for me, my most challenging course was history, and for Lucas, his most challenging course was math. So we then started talking about why these classes were challenging, and our answers differed for the most part. I was explaining to him that my history class was difficult to me because the material was so dry and boring, and it was hard to follow, and so it wasn't easy for me to comprehend what was being told to me and what I was reading. So to address this problem, I made flashcards about things like key terms, notable dates, and important events in history. So that's what I did to address my challenging course. As for Lucas, his most challenging course was math, and he said it was his most challenging course because he's never really been good at math. It's always been a struggle for him. So to address this problem, he sought help from um, people like teachers, tutors, and classmates. And I said that our two challenging courses differed for the most part in how we address them. And I say that because for me, it was more of like a comprehension problem and not understanding what I was reading. But for him, it was more of an application process. It was hard for him to apply what his teachers were telling him, and it was a constant struggle for him. It wasn't just a struggle for a single year, whereas my history course was just a struggle for that year. So that was how our courses and how we addressed our courses were different. On the other hand, when it came to telling if being able to tell if we were doing it well in a course, me and Lucas both agreed that it's easy to tell if you're doing good in a course because you are following the material, you're getting constantly good grades on tests, you're confident about your work. So in that aspect of learning, we both agreed that it is easy to tell when you're doing good in a class. Next, we started talking about courses we either did well or poorly in, and I started with sharing an experience to Lucas of a time that I started off poorly but progressed. So I've always been really good at math. I love math. My native ability is that I don't struggle with it. It just comes natural to me. So my senior year of high school, I took AP Calculus, and this was the first time ever that I struggled in a math course. So on the first few tests, I wasn't getting anything higher than like a 76%. And so I knew that I needed to put in more effort for that. So I started to go to extra help with my teacher during lunch. And she would answer any questions I had, and we'd go through my tests or my homework and see what I did poorly on. And after doing this every day for probably about 2 weeks, my grades started to progress, and I started to do slowly better and better and better. And then finally, after about a month or so, I got my first 90% on my test in that class, and I was ecstatic, and it definitely gave me the extra confident boost that I needed to do even better. And so from that point on, I don't think I got lower than like a 93% on my tests, and I ended up getting an A in the class overall. So it turned out to be a great experience for me because I was able to learn that hard work really does pay off, and if you put in the extra effort, then you really will see a change, and a change that you want to see. So, like I previously stated, Lucas said that his most challenging course in school was math, and it was a continuing struggle. So he opened up to me about an experience where he told me that he struggled his sophomore year of math and algebra. And he just continued to get low grades after low grades, which just, he said, kept knocking him down further and further until a point where he didn't care anymore about what grades he was receiving on his tests and his homework. And when the end of the year came around, he received a 95% on his final exam, and he was confused about it, but he said he was so happy, and he told me that he knew it had to be luck, but it still encouraged him to do better his junior year because he told himself that he could do better. So when his junior year came around, he said he was doing the best he ever had, or the best he ever could, and he ended up receiving the highest math grade that he ever had, which was a 85%. And he told me that receiving that 95% on his final exam had a lot to do with how his junior year turned out and how hard he worked. So his experience was one where luck played a big part, but helped him out tremendously because it gave him the courage and the opportunity to excel the following year, which was really awesome to hear.